folks, Brian Hollock back again here from North Point Training Center. Now, I'm dressed in the suit, I'm here in the office, I'm wearing my coat as an attorney today. So unlike some of the other videos where we're talking about training or we're talking about skill building, here today this is purely a law-based discussion. So get your coffee out because it might be a little bit on the boring side. I wanted to do this video primarily because what I'm watching, and it's kind of pertinent now that we're in an election cycle, what I'm seeing is that the battleground in the gun control versus pro-gun movement really has shifted. Whereas in the 90s, early 2000s, it might have been the assault weapons debate. And not that that's not going to come back again. I'm sure that will be something that's going to be of interest, and I'm sure that there will be people bringing that back up again. I'm sure the so-called gun show loophole discussion will come up again, but as I see it, as an attorney who has a particular area of interest in self-defense law, what I see really as the battleground here in 2012 going into 2013 is the area of the concealed carry lifestyle and people who keep a firearm for personal protection. I think that that's where you're going to see the biggest fight. And so it's important for us to talk about this for a little bit. This area of law, there's been a lot of misconceptions about it, despite the fact that there's been some really, really good work done over the years, most of which, in my opinion, by Masad Ayub. If you're not familiar with his body of work, Mass is a phenomenal instructor as well as a trial expert in the use of deadly force, the dynamics around threat management, and he's really kind of the best in the business. And in a lot of ways, through him and others that have taken this cause on their own shoulders, they've grown a body of instructors like Marty Hayes from the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network and Kathy Jackson from the Cornered Cat, and others who have really taken this and brought it to the forefront of discussion in the gun culture, firearms, pro-Second Amendment movement. Now, the problem is as we start to get more educational sources in the firearms movement, what we start to have is a series of people that either through good intentions but poor execution believe that self-defense law is a lot simpler than it really is. And so what you'll hear is something to the effect of, well, as long as you say you're in fear of your life, somehow that qualifies as being an acceptable response to a conflict, and that therefore it excuses deadly force. Absolutely nothing could be further from the truth. I would advise you to seek out good firearms training from folks that have had training from people like Masad Ayub. If you can train with Mass himself, so much the better. It's always better to hear it from the man who developed this. But the reality of it is you can't just use some magic words and think that that's going to excuse deadly force. It really won't. And in fact, as we've seen with the recent Robert Rodriguez case down in Texas, in a lot of ways, if you start to throw out those buzzwords, I think the jury can justifiably want to know why it is that you're saying these things. Are you really setting your defense up? As was alleged in the Rodriguez case, the prosecution claimed that essentially Mr. Rodriguez was setting up the defense by saying, I am in fear of my life, I am in fear of my life. And recognize that jurors aren't stupid. They're going to ask these questions. It doesn't matter whether there's a stand your ground law in your state or a castle doctrine in your state. They're going to ask some questions, and if they think that you were really itching for a fight and you were really trying to set up a defense so that you can hurt another human being, they're not going to accept that as your explanation for why you use deadly force. In fact, I would ask you, if you had the time to, in a calm and collected way, say, I am in fear of my life, it almost begs the question, well, if you could stop and say that, then why couldn't you just leave? And so the castle doctrine, the stand your ground laws don't excuse that type of behavior. Now the problem is both in the gun culture side as well as the anti-gun side, this concept has been maligned in a lot of ways. And such that what's happened is people are now calling into question the idea of self-defense laws and the rules related to self-defense in and of themselves. And this is important because this is why I say I think it's going to be the next serious battleground. Um, there's a lot of people out there that are well-intentioned, well-trained, safe, responsible people. And frankly, when they walk amongst us in public with their concealed weapon that you never are going to know about, they make us all safer. They really do. Statistically, there really isn't much of a debate. But when you have people that are out there that are, in a sense, the media is picking up on people who are claiming self-defense when self-defense really wasn't what was going on. What you end up having is you have a scenario where the folks that don't appreciate gun rights are taking advantage of this and saying, see, that's what all of these gun people believe. So it's important for us as firearms owners to understand that, one, I don't care what you read on the internet, I don't care what the gun shop commando happens to say, or the zombie killer that happens to be in your local shooting club says, there are no magic special words that allow you to excuse deadly force. What allows you to excuse deadly force is when you are in imminent, otherwise unavoidable danger of grave bodily injury or death. Then you can use deadly force. It is situational. It's not verbal. Okay? In fact, it's so important because what the people that are anti-gunners are saying is they're taking it to the next level. And now here you have a scenario where people say, oh, I'm in fear of my life, when circumstances suggest otherwise, and then all of a sudden what takes place is the anti-gunners then pitch it to the body politic. They say, look, people are killing each other just because they believe they're in danger. Well, understand now where they've gone. They've made that shift from verbalizing, hey, I'm in danger, to actually being in danger. And now we've got trouble, because the minute they start to make an assault on self-defense laws, the minute they start to say, hey, these people are shooting another human being because they believe they're in danger, and that's a bad thing, we have to stop and we have to say, wait a minute. If you reasonably believe that your life is in danger, that's precisely when you ought to be able to use deadly force. And it's not the issue of whether they verbalize it or not, it's whether they reasonably believe that their life was in imminent danger. And we cannot take that right away from people. Personal protection is a fundamental human right. It is not something that the government or anybody else should be able to dictate for you. Having said that, we are a nation and a society of laws, and we have to respect those laws. And so it is important for us as law-abiding citizens not to flaunt the law. And the law actually protects the lawful, innocent person. It does not protect the bad guy. And so we have to recognize that and protect those laws, and recognize that this really is the next point of attack. This is where they're going to go after us next. So for you guys that are engaging in the concealed carry lifestyle, it's critical. Don't be inflammatory. Don't be in your face. You need to treat the concealed carry lifestyle for what it is. It is something that allows you to protect yourself and your family when you're in danger. It is not a place to make a political statement. It's not a place to threaten or intimidate other people. And when we, as concealed carry people, when we're as armed citizens, go about our daily rituals, our daily lives, without letting people know that we have a gun on ourselves, we're making the public at large safer. But safety is critical. Every single time that you hear about somebody that's a licensed carrier of a handgun having an accidental discharge or a negligent discharge, especially in public, it threatens the general population of armed citizens, because what happens is people then start to ask the natural questions. Am I safer having these people around me, or is it more dangerous? Is the threat of an accident more dangerous than having an armed citizen in the same room or same sidewalk as me? And so it's critical for us as responsible, law-abiding, moral firearms owners to do things cleaner, better than the next guy. A lot of you guys are doing the right things. You go out, you take classes. understand that self-defense law is its own creature. And if your instructor is not well versed in how self-defense law works, listen to what they have to say, but take it with a grain of salt and go get more advanced training. There is a book by Masada Ayub called In the Gravest Extreme. It's a little bit dated, but I would say that it's an excellent, excellent starting point. And we'll put up the link on the screen for the name so that you can look it up on the internet and order it. It's an excellent book. It's an excellent starting point for you to understand the judicious use of deadly force. So from North Point Training Center, this is Brian Hollock. I wish you all to be safe, and if you have any questions, feel free to email us or put comments up on the YouTube channel, and we hope to hear from you soon.